Hey again, Wanderers. Um, Change part two. I just got done making the first one. Got up here to the little knoll spot where you can't really see a whole lot, and you get a little bit of view of the lake that way. The flies are still bugging me, but more on point, and I'm going to try to keep this one on point. Um, for me, change has always been pretty easy. I have flown by the seat of my pants so many times, but the biggest changes and the most frequent changing that I've done has been when I didn't have anybody else to worry about. So whenever I have other people to worry about, I notice my not desire. My desire to change is always present. I like to be in new places, I like to explore new areas, new things, as you know, you can kind of tell from these videos. Well, that's kind of fast, sorry about that. So change has always been kind of a part of who I am. And that probably came from growing up, moving like 22 times before I graduated from high school. Or actually, I didn't graduate from high school before I dropped out of high school and just started working and said, to heck with it all. Because high school was boring. But anyway, so I've always been really good at change when it comes to exploring new places, going new places, doing new things. Hell, I've gotten on a bus with $12 in my pocket, one-way ticket, went from Bozeman, Montana to St. Paul, Minnesota. Had $12 left when I got off the bus, didn't know a damn person, didn't know anything. Slept in the bus station that night. Walked down, I believe it was Roberts Boulevard or Roberts Street or something like that. There in St. Paul. Don't really remember. That's been many, many years ago. Back in the 80s. At any rate, walked down the road, found a Godfather's Pizza. Was pretty hungry. They served by the slice at the time. So I went in and got me a couple slices of pizza. Asked the people if they were hiring. They said, yeah. Sent Chris out, assistant manager. He brought an application and stuff. Said, you have any experience? I said, yeah, I worked at Pizza Hut in Bozeman, Montana. He's like, oh, worked for the enemy. That's good. We can pick your brain. At that point, I kind of knew that I had been hired, as he was very open about that right off the bat. Sorry guys, I gotta sit. So I'm not gonna wander much on this one. So, needless to say, it was pretty funny. He didn't realize that I had put the address of the pizza parlor down as my address on my application until later that night. Because after I'd eaten and everything and had my interview, and he told me that, yeah, I could come in to start working the next day. I was like, all right, cool. So I went out. I still can't believe I did this kind of stuff. And I would still do it today. As you know, like I said, I don't mind change. So I went out and found a tree back behind the restaurant, and I kind of set up camp behind the tree, and I was just going to sleep there that night. Well, it was probably about 12:30, almost 1 a.m., and they were closing up and everything. The assistant manager, Chris, and a couple other guys. I'm trying to remember what that one guy's name was, because he's the one that got startled by me, because he came over to the tree to take a leak. I don't know why he didn't go in the restaurant. They were kind of different guys, but I said, oh, please don't pee on me. And he jumped like a madman. He didn't realize there was somebody sitting there behind the tree. Totally scared him. And Chris saw me. He's like, what are you doing out there? You know, and I told him, I says, oh, you know, I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I just got into town like I told you earlier and stuff. And he's like, yeah, but I thought you had someplace you were coming to or something. Like, no, he's like, well, come on, get in the car. So he took me to his shall we say, um, extra opportunity apartments that he maintained. Yeah, he was an interesting guy too. If you're watching this, Chris, shout out to you, man. That was pretty awesome, buddy. Um, Still don't really condone what you had the apartment for, but hey, each their own, right? And that all works, and I appreciated you having it because, man, I got to use it for a while, so I appreciate that. So, got a job, had a place to stay within a few hours of being in the city. I've always known that changes that I make, I'm making them right. I'm doing what my life should be doing, and that things are going to work out. I've always known that. I have always been able to put that in my head that things are going to be right. And it's no different when I have people that I'm caring for that I don't want to upset, that I want to make sure that they're cared for and that they're safe, like my daughter. And the thought pattern for me is no different. I still know that it's going to work out. It's going to be right. Where I question myself when I have someone else to care for is the timing. And that for me is what makes the change hard. That's what I couldn't get in my head. I couldn't verbalize that on my previous little video here, and I'm already at 6 minutes on this one. But it's the timing that bothers me about the changes that I make when I have other people that are involved. Now, if it's just me, I've already made the change that I've been wanting to make for a while. I live in a condominium in an HOA that doesn't allow me to do things in my own yard. It won't even let me put stuff in my window without permission. Very controlling HOA environment. And I don't like that. I also love to be outdoors, as you can tell. I love to have a garden space, and I've actually thought of starting gardens up here in the woods in different places and visiting them through the week. I've thought about that, but they require more water than this area gets, so I wouldn't want to come every day to water them. But anyway, the timing is what concerns me the most. When it's just me, I know it's going to work out, and I keep that in my head, but for just me, it doesn't matter when it works out. I've been comfortable sleeping in a tent in the woods, for months at a time. I've been content, being homeless, so to speak. I never feel like I'm homeless because I can live anywhere on earth, and that's okay. That's my home. So that doesn't bother me. Now, when I have somebody that I care for, especially kids like Desi, my daughter, her name's Desi, by the way. Her name's actually Destiny, but I just call her Desi. Anyway, yeah, I love her very much. Then I stress about the timing. And so then I'm like, well, I need this to work right away when I make the change so that she doesn't have to deal with, the homeless aspect or the, not knowing what's going to happen next. I don't want her to deal with that. I want her to be safe from that. And I've gone, multiple days without eating anything because there wasn't money to get food and things like that when I moved, I've done it, and it's not a big deal to me because I know it's going to work out. And for me, myself, it doesn't matter when. But when I have other people with me, it matters when. And so that's where my timing issue becomes the deal. And I'm trying to figure out how to change that in my head. And I'm actually trying to figure out where that came from. It might have come from a couple of the moves we made when I was a kid. It took us a little while to regroup after them, and so that might be where it stems from. I don't know. It's one of those things where I know my mother was very much a planner, and there was a couple of moves when we moved where we didn't have the plans in place that she wanted to have in place, and so she was kind of freaking out about it and stuff, and so I might have pulled some of that from her too, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's a good idea to have a plan. It really is, especially when there's multiple people involved. So, anyway, that's where it is. We're at 10 minutes already, Wanderers. I appreciate you guys listening. Again, share in the comments. Is timing one of the issues you have with change, or is it something? Is it just something new that scares you? You know, what is it about change that holds you back? And how do you work with it? How do you conquer that? How do you come over that? All right, man. Take it easy, Wanderers.